An immortal supervillain obsessed with mutants, Mister Sinister is unlike any other character in the Marvel Universe. Dr. Nathaniel Essex first appeared in Uncanny X-Men number 221, published in June 1987. Mister Sinister is one of 3 self-clones created by Nathaniel Essex, along with Dr. Stasis and Orbis Stellaris. Mister Sinister is the clone who's most similar to the original Dr. Essex, maintaining many of his personality traits and interests, such as Essex's deep obsession over mutants. So, as we get into Mister Sinister, we have to talk about who was the original Dr. Essex. As shown in Further Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix number 1, April 1996, Nathaniel Essex was an important biologist in the 19th century who became obsessed with Darwin's evolutionary theories after his son had birth deformities and died prematurely. The only thing Essex didn't like about Darwin's theories is that he deemed them too moral and wanted a more amoral study of genetics. Not measuring his methods, Essex went as far as exhuming his own son's corpse to further his theories. His late wife Rebecca was also cloned by Dr. Essex. The scientist had no limits when it came to advancing his cloning experiments and theories. After attending Darwin's funeral in 1882, Sinister relocated to New York and established himself as leading obstetrician Dr. Nathan Milbury. He stole genetic material from his patients for years, collecting priceless data. A result of Dr. Essex's cloning experiments soon before the turn of the century, Mister Sinister actually believes he is the real Nathaniel Essex. Mister Sinister carries all of the memories from Dr. Essex's life, except for his death at Bedlam, which furthers his belief that he is the real Essex. He also inherited the friends and enemies of his creator, including his complex relationship with Apocalypse. And Saba Nur, or Apocalypse, is an ancient Egyptian mutant warrior who became interested in Dr. Essex's work in the 19th century. Apocalypse genetically altered Nathaniel Essex so he would know what it's like to be a mutant and join him in his plans to rule over humans. He remained under Apocalypse's control for a while, but later broke free to become a major supervillain in his own right. Unable to defeat Apocalypse, Sinister plotted to create a mutant that could, which further sent him down the path of a lifelong obsession with genetic manipulation. Over the next century, Sinister's experiments and manipulations would quietly shape the course of mutant history. He became especially fixated on the Summers bloodline, believing that the genetic combination of Scott Summers and Jean Grey would produce a mutant powerful enough to destroy Apocalypse. This obsession led to his cloning of Jean Grey, creating Madeline Pryor, a tragic figure who was manipulated into marrying Cyclops and bearing a child. She was the mother to Nathan Summers, who would later become the time-traveling warrior Cable. In another timeline, Mister Sinister also used Scott and Jean's DNA to create Nate Gray, X-Man, who is considered a variant of Cable despite their different mothers. Throughout the years, Sinister has repeatedly clashed with the X-Men, manipulating events behind iconic storylines like Inferno, Messiah Complex, and Powers of X. As the X-Men face new threats in Marvel's evolving multiverse, Sinister remains one of their most enduring and complex enemies. If you think that is an interesting origin story, wait until you hear about all the powers Mister Sinister has, and all the terrible secrets he hides. After being mutated by Apocalypse in the 19th century, Sinister became functionally immortal, immune to aging and disease. But he didn't settle for his newfound powers. He continued to experiment on himself, enhancing his DNA to obtain more mutations, and with them, new abilities. He can study the genetic material of other mutants to then use his findings to tweak his own DNA, gaining the same abilities as those mutants. Sinister has been perfecting his methods for genetic manipulation and cloning for over a century at this point, and keeps getting better. One of his earliest genetic upgrades came from the shapeshifter Courier. Thanks to Courier's DNA, Sinister can now control every molecule of his body. In other words, Sinister is a cellular shapeshifter. He can liquefy to water, solidify to stone, transform into any form he wants. This control at a molecular level allows Sinister to survive otherwise fatal blows, like being blasted in half and shot through the head, always regenerating completely. Mister Sinister also has high stats in all areas of performance with his superhuman strength, speed, stamina, reflexes, and durability. Mister Sinister is one of the most powerful telepaths on Earth, being able to read other people's minds or resist having his own mind read by others very easily. He can detect anyone and mask his presence completely from other telepaths with the same power, and he can use this power to mask others as well. When it comes to mind control, few characters are as skilled as Mister Sinister. He can control minds to the point of triggering voluntary or involuntary bodily functions. By creating mind links, Sinister can take another person's mind from their body and trap their psyche in his own body. He can also possess that person's body in a form of mind control. He can alter people's minds, giving them ideas they will believe to be their own, or making them forget their memories. He can can create a mental block where their superpowers won't work anymore. Sinister creates realistic telepathic illusions, causing people to feel specific emotions, feel pain, become paralyzed or unconscious. Depending on the opponent, Sinister can go as far as killing someone using only his mind. His telekinetic powers are just as refined. He can lift over 100 tons, fire concussive blasts from his hands, create force fields, and levitate or fly at high speeds. Sinister has also full control of astral projecting, being able to travel through the astral plane. He can even use his powers in the astral plane, something only the most powerful can do. He can teleport across large distances. He is able to directly interface with various technologies he has at his disposal, mentally activating or summoning them. He is also omnilingual, thanks to time spent inhabiting Cypher's body, giving him perfect fluency in any language, spoken, written, or coded. But beyond powers, what makes Sinister truly dangerous is his mind. He's a genius geneticist, inventor, and manipulator, often considered one of the smartest beings on Earth. When it comes to genetics and cloning specifically, Sinister is the #1 reference scientist in the world, but his genius extends to various fields of science, including cosmobiology, physics, mechanical and electrical engineering, and much more. The original Dr. Essex had a PhD, an MD, and other honors, and was a member of the British Royal Society. But Mr. Sinister is even more of a genius. His intellect has been said to match Reed Richards and Dr. Doom. Sinister, having lived for over 150 years, has had enough time to study more than both Reed and Doom. His intellect later grew to new levels, not only thanks to his time with Apocalypse, but also the access he had to advanced celestial technology. He mastered cybernetics, robotics, and computers, but realized he only had interest in the sciences that fit his goals to create the perfect mutant kind. He completely mastered cloning and can produce large amounts of clones. With a small DNA sample, he has been able to recreate many Marvel characters, including himself. He is a master surgeon. For example, he excised a portion of Gambit's brain, only to later restore it. He is a skilled doctor in general, as Essex was one of the best of the country during his time in England. Sinister is also constantly inventing new devices that are often pretty creative. His inventions include advanced ships, devices that block powers, devices to perform healing or teleportation, and much more. His skills as an inventor can be compared to Tony Stark's. Even though Sinister doesn't rely as much on these gadgets he invents, he can combine his skills to invent weapons that are incredibly unique. For example, he once harnessed Dazzler's ability to turn sound into light in order to turn people mute. He also once created a gun with clones of Cyclops' eyeballs. Having a massive knowledge in psychology and no morals, Sinister became a skilled manipulator. He can conceive others with simple words and facial expressions, even without using his mind control powers. Mr. Sinister is also a capable leader and a great strategist, being one of the stronger opponents the X-Men ever had to fight. Mr. Sinister trained himself in martial arts and unharmed combat. On top of all the powers we've mentioned, he can also pose a big threat in close combat without using any of them. Mr. Sinister is normally described as the world's greatest geneticist, but along with Professor X, he is also one of the leading authorities on mutants of the entire world. When Professor X was at the forefront of the newly established sovereign mutant nation of Krakoa, Sinister was not only granted citizenship, but also a seat on the Quiet Council, the ruling body that governed Krakoan society. Strange, right? Well, the Krakoan era did bring out the worst in some X-Men characters, and many villains were seen side by side with heroes. Despite Sinister's dark and criminal past, his vast genetic database of mutant DNA was an essential resource for the resurrection protocols of Krakoa, which led to Professor X himself accepting Sinister into the Quiet Council. The resurrection protocols led to the formation of the Five, a group of heroes who would resurrect fallen mutants that the Krakoan government felt died before their time. This protocol fell right into Mr. Sinister's desire to play God. During this time, he also discovered that other versions of himself existed, each bearing different symbols on their foreheads. Orbis Stellaris was a Nathaniel Essex clone with a spade mark on his head who became involved in galactic affairs and built a cyborg clone army. The other clone, Dr. Stasis, had a suit of clubs on his forehead and was anti-mutant, instead focusing on creating animal chimeras to do his bidding. Despite the reveal of 2 other clones of Nathaniel Essex, Sinister still insisted he was the only true Dr. Essex. Krakoa soon experienced its first major crisis when Professor X was assassinated. Sinister formed an uneasy alliance with Psylocke, who needed his help to defeat the techno-god Apoth. Sinister became an even more prominent leader in Krakoa, and one day proposed redirecting the violent tendencies of some mutants into something useful. With Psylocke as a henchman in exchange for the promise to resurrect her daughter, the Quiet Council allowed Sinister to form a team of unstable outcasts. During Dawn of X, Sinister assembled his own mutant strike team, the Hellions, to act in his personal interests in Hellions #1, March 2020. The Hellions' first mission was to destroy Sinister's old cloning facility, now overrun by Madeline Pryor and former Marauders. To secretly build a new cloning lab, Sinister partnered with Mastermind in an elaborate plan. Mastermind faked working for Arcade, who would kidnap Sinister and coerce him into creating a lab in Murder World. Once the lab was completed, Mastermind double-crossed Arcade and tricked the Hellions into thinking the facility had been destroyed. Later, when they were no longer useful, Sinister murdered all the Hellions himself and buried the missions they were involved in. Despite Sinister causing all this chaos, the Quiet Council chose to cover up the scandal. Sinister's database remained too vital to the resurrection protocols. All this corruption in Krakoa feels even worse when you think about all the terrible, deep, dark secrets hidden in Mister Sinister's long history. For example, his Nazi atrocities. During World War II, Mister Sinister was a Nazi scientist who experimented on humans, as shown in Excalibur Volume 3, Number 7, November 2004. Children imprisoned at Auschwitz called him Nosferatu. Sinister bribed them with candy in exchange for blood samples to study. A young Max Eisenhardt, who would later become Magneto, witnessed Sinister's horrific attempts to forcefully activate the X gene through inhumane human experiments. But that's not the only war where his crimes were extremely dark. During the Vietnam War, Sinister resumed his human experiments, as shown in Weapon X Volume 2, Number 27, August 2004. He abducted soldiers and civilians, earning the nickname the White Devil. In 1968, Victor Creed, also known as Sabretooth, was sent to investigate the disappearances, but was eventually manipulated and recruited into Sinister's ranks. And it's not like Sinister would wait for wars to break so he could do his experiments. Some of his scariest creations had nothing to do with these war crimes. For example, he once used genetic material from Kraven and a sample of the Carnage symbiote to create a new being called X-Raven in X-Men, Spider-Man number 2, 2008. He was also involved in the Weapon X program, which kidnapped and enslaved mutants while experimenting on their bodies to enhance their powers. Eventually, Sinister founded a base on a remote South Pacific island called Bar Sinister, populated entirely by clones of himself. That's how big his ego is. There are many other stories featuring Mister Sinister that we could mention in this video. He may have debuted a couple of decades later than the main X-Men characters, but he soon became one of the most important villains in the X-Men comics. Mister Sinister has been a major supervillain in Marvel Comics since the 1980s, and it's in fact surprising that he never made it to the big screen. Mister Sinister has never officially appeared in a live-action X-Men movie, but he's been teased multiple times. Now, fans can't wait to see him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. With the multiverse saga coming to an end, and the start of the Mutant saga, now is the perfect time for Marvel Studios to start planning the inclusion of Mister Sinister. He not only is a pretty difficult villain to defeat, which makes for great movies, but also amazing to look at. Visually, he is a pretty striking presence. Extremely pale, with red eyes and a fabulous cloak. Sinister is far from looking boring. Kevin Feige has already revealed that Marvel Studios wants to make X-Men movies where fans will see characters they know, but also meet several brand new characters for live action. Mister Sinister could be one of them. The Inferno storyline, for example, would be a great source material for one of these first projects in the Mutant saga. Imagine in a movie centered on Scott Summers and Jean Grey, Mister Sinister clones Jean Grey and creates Madeline Pryor, who he uses to manipulate Cyclops. Later on, from the middle towards the end of the Mutant saga, it would be the perfect time to adapt House of X or other storylines from the Krakoan era. We could see Mister Sinister slowly infiltrate positions of power throughout the saga, finding himself besides Charles Xavier in the Quiet Council of Krakoa. During this time, he could be granted permission to form the Hellions. So far, the Thunderbolts, or the new Avengers, have been the only morally gray team of anti-heroes in the MCU, and the franchise has never seen a proper team of supervillains. The Hellions team could be adapted to be Mister Sinister's team of villains, who pose as Black Ops agents for the Krakoan Quiet Council. Unlike Magneto, who has a deep emotional wound behind his extreme and violent measures, and is trying to protect mutants, Mister Sinister has been violent even before he was traumatized. Sinister is obsessed with mutants, but he has no concern over their lives. Originally cold and calculating, he's been more recently retconned to be a more extroverted man who actively seeks attention and validation, as seen in the Krakoa era as he takes an active role in the formation of teams and in the government. Either way, Sinister is a loner, isolated in his own ideas of what it means to be a perfect mutant. He may have relationships with many other characters, but he always ends up alone due to his own horrific actions and his betrayals of any allies. His presence would bring a much-needed psychological depth to the Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise. Unlike cosmic threats or brute force villains, Sinister challenges the X-Men intellectually and morally. His twisted ideals about evolution, control, and legacy make him the perfect main antagonist in a saga that's all about what it means to be mutant. If Marvel wants the Mutant saga to explore identity and ethics, few characters embody the darker sides of those themes better than Mister Sinister. If he's introduced, Marvel could frame him as a mastermind behind the curtain, shaping mutant destiny for decades without anyone noticing. Whether Mister Sinister is from the main MCU timeline or another universe entirely, he still could have a long-reaching history of manipulation and dark experiments. His intricate history with the X-Men, particularly his obsession with the Summers and Grey bloodlines, offers a wealth of storytelling opportunities. Imagine the genetic manipulation and moral ambiguity he could bring to the MCU. Now, we would love to hear your thoughts on Mister Sinister. Would you like to see him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to subscribe. Until next time, thanks for watching CBR.